Well, welcome everyone to another one of the 2016 C.A.R.B Hall of Fame inductee videos, and today we're here with Tom Corbin. Tom, first off, let me congratulate you on being inducted into the C.A.R.B Hall of Fame. I'm sure you've got to feel pretty honored about that.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
I was going to say, it's a who's who of racing here in and around the Kansas City area, and boy, to be able to get in there with all of the guys that preceded you, why, it's got to be a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's an honor, definitely.
All right. Looks like you first got your start at age 13 when your dad used to take you to the races at the fair. I can't tell you how many times I've told that story so far this year. Especially, it seems like the guys from around here in central Missouri, as far as Roy Hibbard and Bob Toman and yourself, being so close to the fair, well, I'm sure that was an every year deal for you.
Not really. The only reason why I got to go when I was 13 is because horse races rained out on a Thursday. That's when our family always went to the fair, and it had a storm and it rained out, so we ended up going on Saturday. So my dad took me to the races on that Saturday, and that's the day that Bardall cars with Bobby Grimm was driving it, and he won the feature that day. And then 67, I think it was, I drove the car twice.
You ended up driving it too?
I drove it 2 times. Yeah, same owner.
Same owner.
Same car.
Isn't that ironic at age 13 to do something? How old were you when you did that? Do you remember?
Probably 27.
About 27?
Yeah.
That's a pretty neat story to be able to do that as a kid and then later on be able to fulfill kind of like a dream.
Yeah. So the only thing was different, he had a Chevy in it instead of an off in it.
The good old V8s when they came around, that was a good deal. In 1959, you decide that you're going to buy a car and make a race car out of it, and it only cost $50, but you still had to borrow $25. That sounds like some tough times.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I had no zero money, and here at Dover, you know, you think about it, what is it, 70, 80 people, you know, and nobody had anything. I mean, the people just survived, and so I didn't really even get to go. I think I took the car one time, and it broke down before I even got to race it. So
you didn't drive it to the track now.
No, we pulled it, but it's on the ground.
Yeah,
it was on its wheels. They took the axles out of it.
I'll be darned.
And pulled it.
What a story!
In fact, a friend of mine had to pull it. I don't know whether my car would even pull it.
Yeah, that's quite a story. A $50 car.
Yeah,
I presume. Was this kind of like a jalopy class or something like that?
Yeah, I seen it sitting on the side of the road on 50 Highway down by Knoxville somewhere. And it did have a motor in it. But that was my first one.
$50.
$50.
You do finally get to run your first race, and this is going to be at Thunderbolt Speedway, which was in Salina at the time. What was that on?
No, it was a Sedalia.
Or I'm sorry, bad pronunciation. Sedalia.
Yeah.
Was that? Which side of town was that on?
That was on the kind of southwest.
Yeah.
It's a little quarter mile ahead out there.
Yeah, I think you were telling me it's down there where them 2 roads V.
Yes.
You're right at where you're starting to head out of town. Used to be in the old days when you were heading out of town.
It was the end of town.
Yeah. And can you tell me anything about that? Can you remember how that went? I mean, did you just kind of show up and that was it, or anything good or bad happened?
Yeah, nothing good happened. I mean, in fact, it broke down before I even got to race.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But that same track, when I drove for Dean Hathman, when fuel injection cars, that was my first race of the year for him and I, and we won the opening night at that track with fuel injection. So I get to win my first race there with fuel injection.
Man, that's something else. It had to be a thrill, because I'm sure there was a lot more speed to deal with and everything.
Oh yeah.
More power.
Yep.
Wow, sounds like a great time. In 62 and 63, George Lazowski and yourself, you guys get together and decide to build a race car. What kind of a car was that, and where did you rent it at?
Yeah, it was just a Chevy frame, and then I had a Model A pickup body that we put on it. And I had a 6-cylinder GMC motor that I got from Elmer Lane, and I had a lot of motor trouble, and I took care of it. And then George took it, and George Ray took it, and then we started winning races. Then, and so that I got to win enough that in '64 that we borrowed a motor, and Plymouth motor, and put in it, and went to Knoxville to the Nationals.
Now that was a fuel injection deal too.
Mm-hmm.
Now talking about this trip to Knoxville, this was the first Nationals that you drove in.
Yeah.
And you had pretty good turnout. I mean, you had a pretty good result from going up there. How did you finish?
Yeah, we ended up 4th.
Man, that had to be, you had to be really pleased with that. I mean, one of the first times in fuel injection, and then to go up there and run with that field up there and finish 4th. I think you told me on the phone Kenny Weld won that night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really wasn't very happy because I ran second most of the race.
Yeah. And
Kenny and Greg both passed me. I really had lost the brakes and got in the fence in 3 a little bit, and it was not that lap, but the next lap they got by me.
Yeah.
So I ended up 4th. But, I wanted second, at least second.
At least second. I have to ask you. This was like what, 66, 67 or something like that?
64.
64. Did they have that same fence they've got now? You're talking about getting in the wall. I mean, that thing is big and solid.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was just skinning it. I just rubbed it is all.
Uh-huh.
I had to slow down a little bit because, like I say, I lost the brakes. But that's, in fact, if you think about it, back then, the right rear tire I had on it, I bought from Pappy Well for $25. So.
And about how wide was that rascal?
It's probably about 8 inches wide. About 8 or 9.
8 or 9 inches? Oh my gosh. Now it wasn't, was it a groove tire? It already
it was a regular race tire, recap.
Recap? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
okay.
it was a recap.
How long were those recaps good for?
Oh, I don't remember how much he ran it, but I ran it some after I got it. So that's back when everybody almost ran them, to get the softer tires.
Oh wow, that's you're going to hear me say that a lot. But gee, it was just a different time in racing. I mean, completely different from what it is now.
Yep, sure was.
Yeah, but still, to be able to go up there, I mean, let's face it, that was some of the biggest names in racing during that era that you just mentioned right there, the Welds. I mean, gosh, innovators and just really did a lot of neat stuff in racing. Mm-hmm. And to be able to finish 4th with that bunch has got to be a pretty terrific deal for you. Once again, you say you were driving for Dean Hartman in '65. Or Hateman, I'm sorry. Yeah. And you're running pretty much around Central Missouri as well as some with IMCA. And, of course, here around Central Missouri was the CMRA, which is Central Missouri Racing Association. But like everyone else in those days, besides running with those two groups, you also would do all the fair dates. Because, boy, that's when anybody that was in racing got together to run those dates.
Yep.
How did that go running with Hartman? It sounds like he might have been one of your favorite car owners to drive for.
Yeah, he was. Well, I mean, it was at that time he had one of the better cars. I think we won 8 features that year. I know we won the first night, and I think we won 8 features there. In fact, we even won one at Knoxville.
Oh, really?
We only ran there one time.
The weekly. You're talking about the weekly show.
Weekly race, yeah.
The weekly race.
And we went up there kind of at the end of the season, and we even got to win at Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, was this a super modified?
Yeah, it was a roadster.
Roadster.
Yeah, it was a roadster.
Okay.
Yeah, an old Indy car.
Really?
Yep.
An old Indy car, and
I think it was either a Watson or a Curtis.
Yeah. Did they have to shorten the wheelbase or anything to run it?
Yeah. Yeah, but that was an old Indy car.
So he did all of that mechanical work and stuff like that. You just drove the car.
Yep.
Man, that must be a good deal. Just show up, put on the helmet and the driving suit, and away you go.
Even the kid. Yeah, can't beat that.
Yeah, doesn't have to do no work. Right around this time, you were at Knoxville again, and I think you have another pretty good finish at Knoxville up there. Now, was this driving for Hateman?
No, this was driving for Bob Derry.
Okay.
And I drove for him, and I think it must have been 80, because that's when we ran third. Mm-hmm. Third at the Nationals in 80.
So you improved one spot. And
yeah.
got up and I can remember who won that year?
Yeah. Steve Kinzer.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
That's just one of a few.
Yeah, I know. That was his first one.
Was it really?
Yeah, that was his first one.
Yeah. So then this sounds like it was probably also wingless.
Yes.
This was all wingless then.
Yeah. Yeah, it was all wing, none wing.
Yeah. Man, I wish I could have been there. I'd love to have seen that. I think the first race I made was when Eddie Levitt won his first race at Knoxville.
Is that right?
And
yeah.
Boy, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, Eddie was a good driver.
Yes, he was, without a doubt. The world of Outlaws are kind of starting to get off the ground just about in this time and this era, and you're kind of starting to develop a little bit of interest with the world of Outlaws, and you go and you run a race with them, and for the first race that you run with the Outlaws, you get a third place finish out of that.
That was their first race.
The very first race?
Yep.
Wow. Now, where was that at? Tell me a little bit about
Dallas.
that, about Tom.
It was Devil's Bowl in Dallas,
Bowl.
Texas. Yeah, in fact, they had a reunion last year.
Did they really?
Yeah, for that race.
50 or?
Oh, I don't know.
How long would that have
It
been?
might have been.
Yeah. I was going to say, they usually wait till around 50 or something. Yeah.
But Shane Carson had a lot to do with that.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, yeah.
You mean he was?
Me to go when I couldn't make it.
Yeah. He had quite a bit to do with you being there
No,
and racing,
he-
or the race, putting the race on?
No, putting this reunion on.
Oh, the reunion. Okay, yeah. Shane is really big into a
Yes.
lot of the old-time racer stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah. But still, again, you show up. Had you ever raced at Devil's Bowl before?
Let's see.
I mean, I guess what the question I'm trying to ask is, I know you're going in there
Yeah.
against some really stiff, tough competition, and probably a track that you haven't had much experience at, and then you run third. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not positive. I think I might have been there before.
yeah,
I might have been there
Yeah.
before, but I don't remember too many.
yeah. But that had to have been a pretty tough deal to go in there and race with those guys, because I mean, that was back in the days when Ferkel and, like you say, Kinzer and Swindell and a lot of the big names, all of them were, I think, wanting to really get into this world of outlaw deal and make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
And some pretty stiff competition. Man, to pull down a third.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the worst part about that, I was up to second in it once. I got by Wolfgang once. He got back by me.
Yeah.
But that's part of it.
That's part of it. Sometimes you get there, but keeping it's something else.
Yeah. Yeah, and I won a couple of big races at Dallas, but I can't remember. It was either Memorial Day, Labor Day, or something like that. And so we won a couple down there in Dallas, 2 or 3. I don't remember for sure. Ray Marlin would know. I don't remember. I was driving for him then.
Okay. Now, was this a sprint car?
Yeah.
So you were starting, by this time you were starting to move into a sprint car.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, I don't really, the sprint car, I mean, we still had a roll cage. The sprint car really never had a roll cage. And so I don't know. They call them, I don't know what you'd call them. They even call them wing sprints, But back in the day, you would take the tail section off.
Yeah. Okay.
And you'd make it modified.
Right.
So
Put a stubby rear end on it.
Yeah. Make it modified. So it was all the same.
It could have been a conversion.
Yeah, same cars.
Back and forth, whatever. In 77, 78, and 79, these are really productive years for you, and I think there was one year in there you say that you won 28 features.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, that's a lot of guys' careers there, Tom.
Yeah. Well, and what the best part of that was I didn't run none at my home track. It was all, either all Illinois, Florida, and Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas. So yeah, we had a good year.
Now, were you traveling with a group when you did that?
I still worked a job.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I think we ran 89 races. If I'm not mistaken, we ran 89 times that year, and I still worked a job.
Holy smokes.
In fact, we was in Florida and was going to race at Lake City. I left Kansas City on a Wednesday, and I left Kansas City at midnight on Tuesday night, got to Jacksonville, drove over to Lake City, raced, come back and got in the car and flew back home that night and worked the next day.
Oh my goodness!
And then went back Saturday
Yeah.
to Florida.
Yeah. Now, where were you working at during this
For
time?
Green Quarries.
Green Quarries.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's over by Marshall now, right?
Over Carrollton.
Carrollton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they used to own my cars too. They owned cars too
Okay.
for a long time.
Now, what were you doing over there? Drive a truck, or
You know, I worked in the shop.
you worked in the shop?
Yeah, worked in the shop.
So you kind of had a machine background.
Yeah, that's why I got into it, the mechanic.
Yeah. That's how you got started, was actually being a mechanic?
Well, no, that's why I got into mechanic, because I wanted to race.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't know nothing about them, and that's why I got that kind of a job.
Yeah. Well, did you end up building all your own motors?
No, I was not very good on motors. I didn't have much luck with motors.
So that was pretty much up to most of these car owners that you drove for, that they'd take care of that.
Yeah.
During these 70s here, like I say, some really good years, it sounds like, with wins and racing with different organizations and traveling all over. But you are picked like the number 3 driver nationally behind Rick Ferkel and Bobby Allen by American Speed Sport News.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I just heard that here a while back.
A while back?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, man, that's some of the best in the sport.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even know it till hearing, I'd say, somebody told me it was on one of these interviews.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I didn't even know.
That's crazy to not have known about that. If you would have thought somebody around in your family or something would have, because let's face it, in those days, American Speed Sport News was the publication.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody
got speed.
Everybody, they sold them at the tracks. I mean, I can remember going to Riverside, and they used to sell them over there.
Yep.
And but anyway, you got to feel pretty good about it, even if they just found out about it here recently.
It's kind of a shock, but it does feel pretty good, I guess.
Yeah.
Because them guys there, I know them they were the best. Rick is Circle and Allen. They ain't much. You don't get much higher than that.
No. Well, and then like I say, you throw Kinzer and Swindell and Wolfgang in there, who were the really, really big names in sprint car
They were probably
racing.
They were just getting
started.
They were just getting going.
And you'd been at it for a while.
Yeah.
You know, Asphalt was kind of popular there during that 70s period, 80s, something like that. And they actually had quite a bit of sprint car racing at I-70. I don't think a lot of people knew about that. But you did some of that asphalt racing there at I-70. Was it a difficult change to go from the dirt to that, or did you pick up on it pretty good?
Well, when they built the track, I built a car for the pavement.
Okay.
And, you know, it worked really, really good. In fact, I think Jerry Blundy won like the first 2, and I think I ran second in the first 2 they had there.
Uh-huh.
And then they quit because, you know, the tires and stuff was so expensive.
Yeah,
we didn't run there very much.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last race they had there, the last sprint car race they ever had there, and it was IMCA.
Uh-huh.
And I won that in Curtis Evans's car.
Okay.
But I ran in New Bremen, Ohio on asphalt, and Heidelberg, Pennsylvania on asphalt, and Sunshine Speedway in Florida.
Yeah, we got to talk about that one, but go ahead.
Yeah. And St. Petersburg in Florida. Those are all pavement tracks that I'd ran.
Yeah.
So I had run some asphalt, but it takes a car there.
Yeah.
I mean, that driver is kind of hanging on. It just takes a good car.
Takes a good car.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Sunshine Speedway. Now, you were telling me that this is a 500 lap race.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, how did they do that with these sprint cars?
Well, they used a figure 8.
Yeah.
And like, if half of us was going, let's see, how was it? Because we were pitted on 3 and 4, I think it was. So you came in off of turn number 4, come around and came into your pit.
Oh, okay.
And then the ones that were in, come off of 2, they went around that way. And they'd have a truck coming in behind you.
Yeah, ready to push you off.
And then I know I was pitted by Steve Kinzer. He was driving for Archie and Larry McCown. And like Shane Carson, in fact, was going to relieve me if I if I couldn't make it. And Steve had his brother there and was going to relieve him, but we both made it all the way.
Both made it.
Yeah.
How many laps could you get on the tank of gas?
I don't remember how many times we stopped. I don't know whether it was once or twice. I honestly don't remember how many times we stopped.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what was Sunshine Speedway. It's not a half mile.
It's half.
Is it a half mile?
Yeah, it's a half.
So this was 250-mile road.
Yeah, it's flat track.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Kind of like what was it? IRP used to be up in Indianapolis.
Yep.
Just like
flat
that.
Track. Yep.
Wow. And now this was not sanctioned by anybody either. This was just something that they put on because
something down there. Yeah. In fact, we took a special motor just to run that race.
What was different about it from your regular?
Smaller.
Just smaller.
Yeah.
Something that would make the 500 miles.
But we tested tires on the way down and blew one, and the other one we put in shuck. So we ended up running that one motor. Well, we ran the year we went out and run that race. We ran 800 laps in that before we came home.
On that motor.
On that motor. Well, they came home and overhauled it in St. Louis, and then came back and met me in Georgia again, or Alabama again.
Well, it sounds like you had a pretty extensive asphalt career. Now, see, I didn't.
Well, most of it was on dirt.
Yeah.
The only ones was Sunshine.
That was the only one.
St. Petersburg.
But that was a different car, though.
No, same car.
So you ran the dirt car.
Oh yeah.
Down there, but at I-70 you had an asphalt car.
Asphalt car. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the car down in Florida didn't work good at all.
Yeah.
It was a Singer car, but it was a great car for dirt.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we really ran good on dirt with that thing, but it didn't work very good. It didn't work very good on asphalt.
I have to ask, can you remember how much that thing paid?
The one at Florida?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I know we ended up 9th in it.
With a dirt car. I mean,
yeah.
I think you were saying the guy that won it most of the time was a guy from South Dakota, and he ran an asphalt
Don Mack from South Dakota. Now, Steve led it a long time, but I think he had trouble.
Yeah.
And but that car he had was a Steve Stapp car at Indianapolis, so it was it worked good on asphalt.
I bet it did. It was probably an old USAC car or something that they ran both ways.
Yeah.
And they knew the setup for that.
I drove that car once, and when Jimmy Sills was driving it, and ended up winning with it tonight, I drove it, so it was a good car.
I'll be darned. That sounds really kind of unique for all you dirt guys to be going down there and running a 500 lap dirt race. That's the way racing is, though. But it really gives the fans an opportunity to see guys do something that they don't normally get to see them in that setting. And especially like for Steve to go down there and run something like that, had to be pretty a lot of fun for the fans, if nothing else. And you were telling me just a while ago, though, that you did win the last asphalt race that they had at I-70.
Sprint cars.
What was it? Primarily the cost that stopped the sprint cars from running at I-70.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what I remember is that they were just so fast down there too, and the walls at I-70 were not the highest, as I recall, because they had quite a few cars that went out. I mean, it wasn't a safety deal.
Yeah, a lot of guys got hurt. Yeah, they were. Well, even when I ran that day, Curtis's car, Firestone furnished give me the tires because I was hooked up with Meek and Cobb out of New Orleans and the New Orleans Saints. But anyway, that's where I got the tires free. All I had to do is send them back.
Okay.
When the race was over.
I'll be darned.
And so they inspect them and stuff like that. But I had all free tires when I went there. So.
Did they have a very large field that last race? Or by then, was it kind of like
it was IMCA, so it was all IMCA cars.
Okay, so they had pretty good field of cars then.
Yes. Yeah.
Who was some of the drivers that ran with IMCA did you run against them all the time?
No, just like fair times. The only time I really ran the IMCA, the circuit, most of it was in '80, and we ran the same year. I was driving for Bob Derry, and we ran second in points that year.
You did?
Yeah.
And it was a combination of races? Did they run any more asphalt races besides that one?
They never even ran them in.
No, really?
They run a different series up north.
Okay.
That ran the pavement.
Okay.
But we didn't run no pavement that year.
Yeah.
I drove for Derry, but we ended up second in points that year for IMCA. But
you also, during your career, and I think we've covered a lot about the driving, but we haven't said much about you building cars or helping drivers out. Now, as we well know, you've been around Danny Lazowski and Brian Brown because, you know, that's kind of a family deal. But have there been some other drivers that you kind of helped them get their career started?
oh, I mean, I've always helped Curtis ever since he's
Curtis
Evans.
Since
he started. And tried, you know, I've done as much as I could for Randy. As soon as I built him a car, and Randy, and then I think there was the Smith boy, was a friend of Randy's, and I tried to help him. He had one of my cars too, and Gary Scott.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
I built a car for Gary and helped him, and Pat McKeon. I built a car for him and helped him.
Okay.
Let me think, you know. But I mean, really, who? No.
What with helping these guys out? And of course, then again, we're talking a couple of decades ago. What was one of the hardest things to get these young guys to do or to learn?
Well,
I guess from a driver's aspect is what I'm talking about.
You know, I always felt like that. You know, that I didn't feel like that I had the talent, but I think I wanted to do it. And now they're not going to work like that. If they don't have the talent that they can walk out there and get it done, they ain't going to work at it. You know, like I mean, I had to work at it. You know, that's why I was telling Phyllis that you know, I just wondered how Wolfgang and Steve felt about how much effort they had to put out to win, because I know for me to put out to win, I had to really put out the effort. And
now, when you let me interrupt you for just a moment.
Sure.
You're talking about the effort. You also mean off-track work, also,
right? Yeah.
Because that's what I hear from so many racers, especially some that have been in racing for a long time. Is so many races. In fact, I think Brian Brown has said this to me. So many races are won in the shop before you ever get to the track.
Sure, absolutely.
And a lot of the racers nowadays, I think they can't picture that. I guess they just think it's going to happen on the track.
Well, now they just buy the parts. You know, you got to have the money now is really taking over. You know, it used to be back in our day. You know, you either worked at a gas station or a junkyard. You know, that's about what ran cars.
Yeah.
You know, that's the people that liked it. And now, you know, you got people with money. You know, and you know, just like the guys that Duke drives for, and you know, Brian drives for, and you know, they got
buku bucks.
Yeah.
I often wonder, because I've done so many of these interviews now for a few years, is whether racers that come from a farming background have a real advantage, because you know yourself, when you live on a farm, you have to be able to repair and fix a lot of the machinery and stuff. Do you think that could have been an advantage for you when you were growing up?
I mean, I wanted to drive. I mean, I used, you know, my dad had a new pickup that he would go to town with and leave the old one there when I was like 9.
Yeah.
And they always wondered why I wanted to stay home. Well, you know what I was doing.
You were driving that pickup out around somewhere.
In fact, I could remember him walking down through the field one time, and I'd done donuts.
The tire
he
tracks.
He was looking at the ground, and I said, "Oh no, I'm going to get caught."
Okay. You have, like I say, built cars too. About how many cars do you think you've built in your lifetime?
I think around a dozen.
Yeah.
Probably around a dozen.
And this was a mix of super modifieds and late models. Or late models, sprint cars.
Yeah.
Has any of them that you can remember or known of gone on to do pretty good and win races after you either didn't know them or build them for somebody?
The one Roy Hibbert drove, you know, after I built that car, and he went on and Roy won a bunch of races in that car.
Yeah, and that was a super modified.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in fact, it's restored. Chucky Hines owns it.
Okay.
Have you seen it, number 26?
I may have. But is it the one or one of them that was at Knoxville or somewhere?
Yeah,
that was in the front.
Yeah.
Okay, I might have seen it.
Yeah, it was up in the Hall of Fame building.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one, and there's a guy in Colorado that's restored a sprint car that I built, and let's see.
Have you had a chance to see them yourself?
I've seen pictures of after Chucky.
They send you a picture of them or something?
Yeah, well, I seen it. Maybe somebody did send me a picture.
Yeah.
And then, but the one in Colorado, I haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
But the guy called me when he was doing
Yeah.
it. And let's see,
Mm-hmm.
then most of them got, Woody Woodward,
Mm-hmm.
and then Randy's car, and then I built a guy for a car in Farmington, and like I say, Gary Scott, and Pat McKeon, and I don't know how many others there. So,
that's got to make you feel good, though, Tom, because what I associate it with is like a carpenter or a construction worker. You get to think of what they get to leave behind in their life, and think of what yours is going to be as some of these race cars that these guys have gone on to drive and have success with, and then have them restored like that. That's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah. Oh, and then I bought that car of Don Brown's, which it's restored too. I don't know if Freddie Vance has got it or not. But I didn't build that car, but I copied one off of it.
Yeah.
That's what I ran I-70 with.
Yeah.
The one I copied off of.
What, looking back, is there one win or evening or race or anything that stands out in your mind as, gee, that was really fun, or I did really good there, or anything like that?
I mean, every time I won, I liked it.
Yeah. Don't we all?
But anything special. The worst part of it is after it's over and gone, you don't. I don't know.
At the time, you didn't realize it was such a big deal or whatever. Knoxville's got to be pretty high up there.
Yeah.
That's the World Series for sprint car driving. Of course, I don't know that it was considered that then, was it?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I wasn't much interested in it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't even care about. In fact, I didn't even care about running up there because it paid the same money to win Jeff City.
Oh, did it really?
It did at Knoxville.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got one in Dallas, which I liked just for the idea of winning Devil Bowl. And West Memphis was always probably the toughest track in the country.
Oh, really?
To win at, and I got to win there. And
what made what made it so rough? What was so tough about West Memphis?
It's just heavy. You had Sammy and all them guys that were really good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I understand that.
In fact, unless the track was dry slick, I couldn't.
No good. Huh?
No.
Couldn't do nothing with them.
No, they were good.
Yeah.
They were good. Hooker Hood.
Oh yeah.
Chuck Amati.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Them guys were good.
Yeah. I can understand. So, like you say, some of these tracks that were out of town were probably some of your favorites. But what about Marshall?
I love Marshall. But the track I really like racing at is Jacksonville, Illinois.
Oh, really?
Yes. You ever been over there?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
What was so neat about that?
Just little.
Yeah.
And when you started, if you started on the front row, you were in traffic in 2 laps. and if you started in the back, you were in traffic on the first lap.
Oh, the first. Yeah. Okay. During this career, I'm sure there had to have been a lot of people that were, as they say, had your back, or were helping you along the way. Is there anyone you'd like to single out, or a couple of people?
Oh, I had some really good car owners. Ray Marler, George Miller from over Carrollton, John McDaniels from Carbondale, Illinois, Bob Derry from Macomb, Illinois. I drove for Laverne Nance one year.
Yeah.
I had some good car owners. John Singer, #1, man. He is the best.
Yeah.
He is a great mechanic. Best guy. I've told a lot of drivers, I said, I wish you'd had a chance to drive for that guy.
Somebody like
He
that.
was that good,
Uh-huh.
you know. And
Man, a guy like that can propel a career too.
Absolutely.
I mean, they get you in that mindset, and
yeah, he was so good. He was so good.
yeah.
But one person, it'd be tough for me to pick out one person. I'd say, you know.
Well, you and George Lazowski had pretty
Oh yeah, we've been together.
Pretty
you know,
good
that was
relation.
just almost automatic for years. you
Yeah.
know, until George started driving and Dude came along.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. George was right there with almost everything every race I ran probably.
Yeah.
And you know, until then when Dude came along, he
Yeah.
started helping Dude.
Yeah.
In fact, he even quit driving. He drove B class and stuff and fuel injection cars and run pretty good too. But he quit too. You know,
Yeah.
when Dude came along.
Well, I don't have this question written down, but I got to ask
Sure.
you, since you're so close to that deal. When you saw Danny or even Brian in their younger days, did you ever envision that either one of them would go to the ranks that they are in sprint car racing now?
Oh, that'd be hard to imagine. You know,
Yeah.
he wouldn't even. I mean, Dude, I knew he was good because he was good from the day he got in one.
Oh, really?
You know,
Okay.
yeah. And Brian, he had a lot of, you know, he had, 5 years of technology, but when he started his first race.
Behind him already.
Yeah, I mean that.
Yeah.
He had George behind him, and even Dude furnished everything for him, the best of everything.
Uh-huh.
For probably his first 5 years of racing, and never had a bad piece of equipment. And,
Well, that makes a difference, don't it?
Oh, my
I mean,
God.
considering what some of these guys start out in.
Dude started out with nothing.
Uh-huh.
He started out with nothing. I mean, he didn't have anything, and he just done it on. He's just good. Probably one of the best ever to get in one.
Yeah.
And he's just got that talent,
Oh, he ranks right up there. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you think about the last 20 years,
Oh yeah.
he's been right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great driver.
Yeah. I had to ask you that question. I
Sure.
thought about it on the way down here, and I thought, man, I need to write that down, and I haven't done it. If anybody,
Yeah.
Tom should have an answer for that.
Yeah. No, dude came from nothing. I mean, they worked on old cars and stuff up there just to make it to the track. Because I know when he started, George said he couldn't go unless he had $200. Well, he didn't know it, but he'd go with my grandma and live next door and borrow $100 or whatever.
Oh, really?
To show George he had the 200, so he could get to go.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, Tom, it's been a pleasure for me to be able to come down.
Hey,
like
thank
I
you.
say, these interviews have been so neat because I've seen a lot of you guys race over the years, and really get to meet you and get to talk about your racing career. It's a pure pleasure for me. So once again, let me congratulate you on being
Thank you very much.
inducted into the C.A.R.B Hall of Fame.
I appreciate it very much.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
All right.